If you had a client ask you how they would go about eliminating that negative self-talk, we call it your little conversations that you have with yourself. And there's a great ad out now for Tylenol sleep therapy where the woman's tossing and turning. I don't know if you've seen it, where she's tossing and turning, and in the end picture, she's sitting there and she's staring at the clock, and she goes, "I wonder if doing the hokey pokey is what it's all about." And
Yeah,
it's a great ad because it
I've
really,
seen that. Yeah.
yeah, it drills down deep as to what we all do. I mean, we all sit there. The negative conversations that I'm talking about, the little conversations out of your head, they typically happen in those times of quietness, in the shower, driving your car, waiting to go in a meeting, lying in bed. What would you share with some people that can help them today to start eliminating these conversations? We know we can't eliminate them all the time because everybody has them their whole life, but we can have them less often and we can have them stay less time. What would you suggest?
Well, this is a really great question, and it's very important and very valuable because we all have in the Buddhist tradition, they call that the monkey mind. Chatter, 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 chatter. If you think about monkeys, it's called the monkey mind. So the first step in this, and I actually teach this as a tool with my clients, is I call it having conscious awareness. And you become a witness or an observer to those thoughts in your mind. So what happens is when the chatter says, "Oh, you're not good enough," or "I'm tired," or "I don't feel like," whatever it is, we begin to identify with the voice and we think it's real. So what we have to do is start to disidentify with it. That's how we stop giving it energy and it stops running our life. So one of the ways is you become a witness or an observer to the thoughts in your mind, let's say, that are negative or don't support you or don't serve you. I think a lot of us wake up at 3 a.m. and we all have those voices, or, I have a particular voice. A lot of them are voices of sabotage. So what I've learned to do is say, oh, that's that voice that kicks in at 3 a.m. So instead of saying, this is who I am, I recognize it with consciousness, with awareness of myself, and say, okay, I know this is not who I am. It's the voice that kicks in at 3 a.m. when I'm stressed or I'm tired. Some people, when they might be a bit run down, are more vulnerable to that. So part of it is identifying that that's not who you are. It's a voice of fear. It's just an old tape that plays. And we all have it, by the way. This is not unique to just me or you. I think everybody's got these voices. So it's recognizing and watching them. They say, like in meditation, you watch the voices go by, seeing them for what they are. And then part of it is saying, okay, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to have compassion for myself, but then it's replacing it with something positive. So one of the things that I do with the client, they'll say, well, I don't really have what it takes to be successful. And I said, well, whose voice is that? Who's telling you that? It's like a tape that keeps playing that's, let's say, an obstacle for them. Well, I kept hearing that from, let's say, my dad when I was young. He kept telling me I could never do what I wanted. So what I would say is that this is the other question is, whose voice is it? Is it your voice? And the third one is it true? And the person will stop and say, well, you know what? It's felt true, but is it really true about who I am? And most of the time, most people say, it's actually not true. It's like a habit.
Yeah,
It's a conversation that has just been a tape, a loop. And it's just sort of second nature, but it's not really the nature of who we are. Does that help? So it's
absolutely.
recognizing a conscious awareness, seeing it for what it is, disidentifying with it, and then saying, is it even really true? And it's a moment to moment practice, by the way. This isn't always very easy, but when we start to notice also where our stress points are and what triggers us, a lot of people, when they get into stress, if they have an argument or anything, they wake up in the middle of the night, to notice that very often that's when those little conversations, a switch goes off. I know there are also places to use this practice that I can replace it with something that is true and that's positive.